to our first again, well, our only agenda item for voting item tonight, 97 Salem Street. 97 Salem Street Realty Trust seeks to erect 5 stories to existing single-story buildings, with occupancy from 1 commercial space to 1 commercial space and 4 residential units. Buildings to include the private roof deck of the exclusive use of Unit 4 and building not to exceed 55 feet in height and to be fully sprinkled.
Thank you very much. Thanks everyone for coming out tonight. My name is Matt Eckel. I'm an attorney with Drago Toscano. I'm here on behalf of 97 Salem Street. By way of brief background, this project started out as a 1 retail, 9-unit residential unit project, going a full 6 stories. Through the initial community process, we heard some concerns about the density, about the parking, about blocking some windows on some of the adjacent properties to our left. So we've now amended it. It is now, as mentioned, 1 retail store and only 4 units. The way we were able to...
Would you actually mind just moving that more towards the center? So,
Sure, this mirrors what's in your packet, so maybe a little bit more towards everyone else. But what we're able to do is redesign the building to employ almost like a staircase or step-back system. So as you go up in each floor, we cut back on the proposed living space. We also just came from an abutters meeting at the property. Several of the abutters are here now, so we've heard some further concerns. However, you know, we feel we've made some significant changes here, and I'll walk through those individually. As mentioned, to be 4 residential units. Just to walk through the floor plans, which are on your page 1, the first four floors. The basement is going to be storage for that retail use. The first floor will be the retail use. That retail use is currently in place. It's a 1-story building right now with the retail space. Now we'll have a front door to go into that commercial retail space, as well as a separate door, which will have a staircase up to the residential units, as well as an elevator. On the second floor will be the first residential unit. That unit will be 985 square feet, a 2-bedroom unit. As you go up to the 3rd floor, that's where we see another step back. Excuse me, the 2nd floor has a 10-foot setback, so we actually comply now with the rear yard requirement because we're a shallow lot. So we actually got rid of the rear yard violation that we originally had because the building basically was squared off over here, and the entire building went all the way back to the rear lot line. So our first step back's there on floor 2. That's a 10-foot plus setback, as I mentioned. So you go up, we pull it back another 6 feet 11 inches to the 3rd floor. That's also a 2-bedroom unit. 4th floor, 2-bedroom unit as well, and another 5-foot setback. And then the 5th and 6th floor will contain the 4th unit. It'll be a duplex unit, also with 2 bedrooms. It'll be a reversed unit, so the lower level, floor 5, will have 2 bedrooms. And the top floor will have the bulk of the living space and the kitchen. We're also proposing a roof deck, which will be exclusive to Unit 4. All right, and just to get back to the design a little bit. You can see there, I believe it's on your page 3, really the step-back design. This is primarily because, as I mentioned, some of the abutters to the left were concerned about losing all their light in there by having a full zero lot line addition. This will allow some light in there to come through the staircase design, as well as I mentioned, reduce that rear yard violation. Our remaining violations, we do have 3. The first is roof structure restriction, because we're putting on an addition. As you know, in any property, if you alter the roof line and put an addition, you're triggered with a roof line restriction, whether it's one-story addition or 5 as we're proposing. The second violation is the parking. Each of the new residential units is required to have 1 space. Because we're already taking up the bulk of the lot, there is no space for parking. So we'd be seeking a variance for parking and cannot provide any. The prior presentation, when we're proposing 9 units, we need 9 parking spaces. By reducing it to 4, we're obviously down to just the 4 spaces that we don't have. The final violation is FAR, or floor area ratio, which is the living space divided by the total lot size. You're allowed to have up to a 3.0 in this district. We were originally close to a 6 when we had the full squared off version. We then went down to 5 units and dropped that down to about 4.5. We're now close to like a 3.3. So we're just slightly over on FAR. There may be a little bit of wiggle room to actually remove that violation, but as is, we still are slightly over with the 3.3. As mentioned, we got rid of the rear yard setback. We also got rid of an open space violation, because with the squared off building, we didn't have any room for decks. We're required to have 50 square feet per unit, so we did not have that. Now we are able to have some decks coming off the rear, as well as the roof deck, so we comply with open space. So we got rid of 2 violations. Additionally, I already mentioned the roof deck, which is exclusive to Unit 4. That'll have an interior staircase that goes directly up, so that's only for Unit 4. Your last page, which is the bottom right here, that's just the elevations. We're at 6 stories, which is allowed, and 55 feet, which is allowed. So we do not have a height violation. And here on the far right is just the rendering of the proposed building. So with that, that concludes my initial presentation. I'll happily take questions or comments from the abutters or from the council.
Before I open up to the audience, I'll open up to the council for any questions.
Not a question. I mean, I appreciate the design and the size of the units. I think it fits the care in terms of what we want. It just seems like a really aggressive for that particular spot on Salem, especially with the first floor or 1-story units next to it.
Right.
So I just didn't know if that was adjusted to bring it down. I mean, we're going all the way up from the 55 feet, you know, in the area that especially in the roof deck, of course. Is it discussed to perhaps lower it at all, or?
So with the 6 stories, the 55 feet, again, which I know you mentioned, is allowed. You can't really go much lower by keeping the 6 stories, only because of the floor to ceiling, you really need about 9. So we really can't go much lower than that. By cutting out, really the biggest concern, again, not to belabor the point, but was going all the way back. I mean, perhaps we lost, I believe, about 2,500 square feet by taking that out, because the way that the lot's designed, this whole portion right here, obviously, was cut out, as you can see, as you go up, as well as the reductions in the floor. So, I mean, perhaps if we had stayed and throughout the whole building, the entire way back, we could look at maybe minimizing a top floor or losing it altogether. But because the number one concern that we heard from the neighbors, not to put words in their mouth, but what we took from it was going all the way back, even 5 stories would block all of their light and air. So this was kind of our compromise. To our left is a 4.5-story building, which is probably about 50 feet. And we are in a string of about 3 or 4 1-story buildings. But on the right of that is a 7-story building. So there's certainly a mixture kind of all around us everywhere from 1 all the way up to that 7. So that's kind of how we came up with the design and how we scaled it back already based upon the feedback we got.
Any other questions from the council? Before I open it up to the audience, I'm just going to read a letter from Frank Pisano, an abutter to the project. So on behalf of Frank, I personally do not want to see anything being added to 97 Salem Street, because if they were to be allowed to build, it would create a big impact on my life as well as my abutters. There's concern for possible damage to the foundation and structure of our property should this construction take place. The construction of this building would be abutting our building, and it would be blocking the view and sunlight of several of the units as well as that of the renters. By placing windows which would be facing our building would be considered an invasion of privacy, and by building this, it would be affecting the air ventilation and the quality of the air, which affects a person's health. Another problem that would exist would be a major congestion of traffic on the street, and during the construction, the dirt, dust, and debris would be spread about the street, which is very hazardous to one's health. I also want to mention, if this were to be approved, then it would become a fire hazard, because how would the Boston Fire Department be able to get down these streets if there were a medical emergency and be unable to arrive promptly in a life-threatening situation due to all the construction and contractors' vehicles parked on the streets? So that's it. So now I'll open it up to the audience.
I know he's not here, but just to respond to a few of those
Yes,
points
absolutely.
briefly. Because we're on the lot line on both sides, which is allowed in this district, you're not required to have a side yard, we wouldn't have windows directly on either side because you're not allowed. That'd be a building code violation. So we actually are not really inviting an invasion of privacy to our left or our right. Our windows are primarily on the front, where we orient a lot of the bedrooms so they have light and air for their well-being, as well in the rear with the decks. So there will not be windows along the sides here, just to speak to that. Obviously, for the dust and the air pollution, we're sensitive to that. Obviously, that's a condition throughout the city. We'd be working with the city with the construction management plan for any brief street closures or anything to make sure that there was advance notice. And, you know, whether we have to put up a no parking sign for a couple days to secure a dumpster or whatnot, it would not be our intention to ever completely block the street. If that were to happen, we'd let the proper authorities know, as well as be willing to take, you know, emails of local abutters to try to keep them in the loop of, you know, what we planned on that specific day. So I know he's not here, but just to address some of those concerns.
Absolutely. So I'm going to open up to the audience now for questions, and statements. Before you make your statement, can you just say your name and street address, please?
Hi, I'm Carla Gomez. I lease the property at Antigua Corner, 93 Salem Street, right next door to the property. When you just said that you would not have to shut down the street, what if they have to shut down the street to bring water or gas? Because I know that Ken had to, you know, he just did his property and, you know, the street was blocked a little, you know, in that area. And it was a nuisance for me, even though he's my landlord, being, you know, no cars getting by, tough to walk by. So bringing water and gas into the buildings, you would have to shut the street down.
Certainly, and if I misspoke, I apologize. There may be an instance or two where it's necessitated by both, you know, the utilities, or if we were to be putting a dumpster in briefly. But what I was saying was I think that letter spoke to some contractors and basically just the fear of having trucks on top of trucks that would basically be in an unorganized fashion, causing, you know, unnecessary backups. Certainly, if the situation arose for utilities and water, we would have to get the proper permit through the city. Like I said, we'd be willing to give people notice to try to help, you know, obviously as a business. That might not help you a whole lot, but for, you know, abutters who are planning on going up and down that street, it might help a little bit to have the notice. But I'm not putting on the record that we would never shut down the street at all, because that's probably unrealistic with this type of work. There would be, we try to minimize it obviously, but there could be days where we have to run those utilities and rip up a small portion of the street or whatnot.
My name is Ralph Terrio. I'm 137 Endicott Street. I also own 28 Parmenter Street, Mr. Carroll. And like the other gentleman said, that is about this foundation and stuff with the construction. I'm worried about that, you know. And so we could have problems in the future that I'd have to have a structural engineer come in and check my foundation and stuff. So I'm kind of worried about that, you know.
Carol Fabiano with 30 Parmenter Street. That is going to blow up my whole building. No sunlight, quality of life. It will be a disaster. There was never anything there, just one story. In the 1930s, whatever it was, I have it in the end. I oppose it.
Maria Pino, 30 Parmenter Street. Like she said, I live in her building, and it's gonna block our sunlight and quality of life. And besides, they're gonna have a roof deck, and we're gonna have to listen to everybody on this roof deck. I'm totally against it.
Just to speak to that?
Yes, absolutely.
So the roof deck, again, that'll be exclusive to Unit 4, which is a 2-bedroom unit. It's not open to the whole building. You know, certainly whether there's a family or roommates, they have the right to use their own roof deck, but it's not a common deck that's going to invite parties and multiple people using it at all times. And to the loss of view and light and air, I also understand that, I sympathize, but the properties that they're speaking of, essentially right there, so that's why we kind of try to keep shifting the building back. The variances that we're seeking don't really relate to that loss of light and air. The rear yard we got rid of because it was heard loud and clear that no one on that side of Parmenter wanted to lose light and air, so that's why we pulled the building back. The roof structure restriction, obviously by going up, has an impact, but that's not because of the height that we're going to, it's just because of anything we do, whether we do 1 story or 5, as I mentioned before. So I do sympathize with the loss of light and air, but we're trying to tailor a project here where the relief we need isn't contributing to those things. So,
Sir, can you guarantee me that on this roof deck, you said just the people that own the top floor are gonna use the roof deck, that it's gonna be quiet? Can you guarantee me that?
of course I cannot. I don't know who's going to live there, I just want to make it clear that the entire building does not have the right to use it.
She had a party up there. She didn't put up the 20 square foot. she's having her hair done and her building's burning down. Remember? On Richmond Street. Imagine that.
If there was a fire that she didn't put out, I'm assuming she was not abiding by city regulations anyways, if she had some kind of fire pit or something, but.
At least rentals are cool. Yeah,
They
that's.
moved to Rhode Island.
Yeah.
You know, those things are all kind of dangerous.
Could you speak to if it's gonna be rental or condos?
The current plan is for rentals.
Okay.
Yeah, the owners own the building right now with the commercial space rented on the first floor, so that would be the plan right now. It could always change, but
100% guaranteed in the lease, like no Airbnbs, none of that crap, just pure leasing agreements, no Airbnbs.
certainly, and that is against the city ordinance. I know people still get around it now or try to get around it, but this wouldn't be a property that's eligible for really any of those loopholes that are allowed by the ordinance. But Airbnbs in the city, unless it's very specific islands, a two-family, and you live in the other one,
I mean,
they're not allowed anyways,
That's
but
actually not true. Technically, they would be able to Airbnb it, but they would have to pay the tax, correct? The tax to the city. No, they can't Airbnb it at all.
It has to be owner occupied. So it would have to be, if it was a two-family building and the owner lived in the first floor, you could Airbnb the unit above you.
Beautiful.
But it would have to be.
so the ordinance is in effect. Enforcement started. People who currently had a lease.
They got rented in the center school.
Again, that's against
Yeah, I know.
That's against the city ordinance, and they would be happy to put that in the lease, just to further the ordinance, just to make sure, but technically, per the city guidelines, it shouldn't happen anyways.
Can you speak to the foundation concerns that
Yeah.
this
Yeah, I will.
site has?
So this, I'm Peter Alfie, and I'm one of the owners, Robert and I own the building. So we've owned the building for about 25 years. So this was 3 separate buildings that burned down in the 50s. And they were like 3-story buildings, 2-story buildings. So the foundations, to today's standards, are pretty good. It's a block building, it has a foundation. We're not gonna tear down, we use the geopiles. All you do is you drill a hole in the present concrete floor, and it just augers all the way down. And you put a, you basically can do it with like a mortar and crush those, and it forms a pier. And then from there, we can do steel straight up. As far as the construction and deliveries, most construction materials are delivered in the morning. We own Mr. Ate Uno for about 22 years. 24 years, you know. And, most of your construction deliveries, you need them in the morning anyway. So, they'll show up with a boom truck. The building isn't a big building, it's mostly windows in the front, and the side, it will have no windows. So the structure will go up pretty quick. As far as it being fireproof, studying the system, which basically steel, and you can do it with aluminum studs. The span isn't that big. The concessions we've made, not just the legal expenses, we redesigned this 3-4 times. We redesigned this 15 years ago. Just because we're trying to be mindful that we've known our neighbors for a long, long time. But, to make the building any smaller, if you look at the stairways, the elevator, you're losing so much. And if you cut that any shorter, it's gonna cost us $600,000-$700,000. We would lose that much money for the space that we get in return. And you're not gonna have a good looking building. I'm in the design business right now, I'm doing mock-up doing for the St. Regis. This is what I do. I mean, this was designed out of my office in Barcelona, Spain. And, we're gonna build a nice building. I don't do anything that's half-assed or anything like that. So as far as construction, when you do that type of building, that you can do concrete decks in between each building and you sprinkle it, you have a fireproof building. Tonight they had a concern that there was a fire in the back. Well, you know what, we don't go to the back. If you go to the back, if we all go there right now, there's a gate on Parmenter Street, and it's being blocked totally by junk and debris and barrels and all kind of stuff going out. That's an exit for all those areas. As far as sunlight, you have 5-6 buildings in the back courtyard of that building, not in the front. We did a shadow study, but the shadow study showed that we were barely even blocking the sun when we had it all over. The shadow study will present, and the reason why I'm not going to spend the money on the shadow study, because every time I change the plan, it's $3,000-$4,000 in the shadow study. The software available with the shadow study today is up. I had a hand in developing it about 5 years ago because we did it for billboard signs. So we can actually show it 3D live like it exists. We'll show the summer solstice, the winter solstice, it'll show, you'll see that the sun comes from another area. You have a much better chance of the sun being blocked there from the building to building on Hanover Street than us, because of the angle where the sun
No,
comes.
that's not true. That's not true at all.
No?
I live right there, that's not true. That building
Okay.
doesn't belong.
People
Hold on, hold on, we gotta call this
That's not
order
true.
one at a time, please.
All right, I'm sorry.
Please.
Go ahead.
We will
That's
have,
not
a 3D shadow study, okay? This building, we basically cut a triangle right out of the back. And at the same time, making it architecturally sound, because anytime somebody does something nice in the neighborhood, everybody's value goes up, right? So, you know, materials, the foundation, we've addressed everything. The design of the building, the quality of the building. You know, we will have a safer building than any building around us, just because of the way it's gonna be built, it's fight-proof.
If I can interrupt you for a moment, just to clarify, I'm Robert, I'm the other owner. Just to clarify, the distance from the main abutters issue, they're 32 feet plus inches from our property. This isn't something, and these folks down here, it isn't something that we're really sitting on top of each other with. So again, we'll do the shadow study, and I just wanted to get that out there, that it's 32 plus feet. Sorry, I made some inches, but 32 plus feet in several inches from where we are on a laser study that we did.
Where's the study?
It's a laser study
We're
that
gonna
we
have
did
that study.
on Max Quest with a
Drill
laser
holes, but not
from
a
one wall,
foundation. You can
from the
guarantee
rear
all
wall
this.
of the.
I just did 450 of them, my project is plus.
Where's the study?
Did you, Ernie?
Additional fire escape.
No. What's that?
Why?
The city doesn't allow in fire escapes.
Can I
They won't approve that.
ask, they're gonna be all rentals?
That's the plan, the 4 units, the 4 units.
Why do you have to, why out of all those, which I think, I hate to say this, I'm gonna admit it, it is one of the worst designs I have to comprehend. If I didn't live in the North End, I would have no idea what building you're talking about. Okay, and there are windows in the back, because that building is low. Okay, why do you want to put a roof deck exclusively for unit 4 or unit 5? Why? Why do you have to have a roof deck?
As opposed to a roof deck for everyone or no roof deck?
No roof deck, period. Why do you have to have a roof deck?
It helps with our open space requirement that the city has.
It helps
And it
with
also
the
is a
noise.
nice amenity for whoever's going to move into
It
that
helps
unit.
with the noise, or we have enough noise in the North End. I'm opposed to any roof deck, okay? Because people that don't live out of town, they come here, it's all about partying. Do you have a trash room? Where are they gonna put their trash? In front of you?
Downstairs. Plus, Robert and I plan on moving into the building.
I'm opposed to the roof deck, I'm telling you right now.
Then it would be eligible.
I'm in a butter, my husband's been living there, 30 Palmetto Street for 85 years, I've been living there 53. Plenty of sunlight. I have children, 5 and 3, that live in my apartment, and they're gonna hear a roof deck with noise, and when they have parties, drinking, barbecuing, worrying about fires. No egress to run. There was a fire in the coffee shop, and my tenant with the 2 children found it hard for the fireman to get there, that he was watching it. He couldn't make it tonight because he was babysitting.
I have a question. I have a question. You have a courtyard, right? You have a courtyard? You have a courtyard
Yeah,
in the back?
yeah, yeah,
Hers abuts mine too.
yeah.
How big is the courtyard?
Small.
How many people go out there?
Nobody really. Nobody goes out there.
Nobody
And
uses the
as a matter of fact,
No,
on
nobody uses
30
the courtyard.
Palmetto Street, on 30 Palmetto Street, the back, you get about maybe this much before you hit the other building, which is your building, in the back, I'm just saying. Because I used to clean that part, we used to have a basement.
So, I remember when you found that big.
Yeah, I used to clean that.
I can't remember.
So,
And just again, to the issue of fire and potential danger, this would be a fully sprinklered building with all the necessary firewalls and everything. So this will make it a safer condition. Any windows that are currently there, they're probably pre-code. The building code does not allow windows on a building that's less than 3 feet. It doesn't have more than 3 feet, excuse me. So there won't be any windows on the new design. Anything that's existing now, either on this building or other buildings, is likely pre-code.
The roof deck is also very small, about 300 feet, 250 feet, and it's towards the front of the building. So I mean, if you think about 4 or 5 people being on the roof deck, and 5,000 people walking down the street.
So at the point.
Plus it's seasonal. It'll be
So
seasonal.
one person speaking at a time, right?
I saw it.
No, change, do you have anything to say? Yes, no, I did.
I'm sorry. Darlene, I live right across the street from right there. First of all, there's sun there all day long. I live right there. The building on the end of the street doesn't block anything. It's just that much further away. The sun comes from one side, goes directly across, so their buildings, which is gonna be here, as the sun's coming across, that's the sun they get. So they can go as far back as they want, all the way up. The building is still gonna be directly where the sun goes. I've been there for 15 years in that apartment, and I know because how it goes by my windows. I see it every day, okay? So his going back so many feet. Now, the back of it, he's gonna have a porch on each floor, right?
Correct?
So more noise. A roof deck, and I don't care what anybody says, you can have your free space, but you walk down the north end on a nice summer night and all you hear is noise from a roof deck at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, whether it's 3 people, 5 people, 10 people, they have their music blaring and they're all out there partying. The guy on Endicott Street who promised us that only the people that live on the top floor, every night in the summer there was a party. Every single night. And I could hear it because my windows are on Wiggett Street and I can hear the roof deck party all the way down there. So the roof deck to me is out. When you have to do the foundation and you have to put holes, don't you have to bang piles into them holes?
No, the auger,
It's what?
the auger, it's like a drill.
So we're gonna still have to hear the drill and everything else to get them holes to put the
We have to have garbage trucks with the noise beat, it's the city.
It's not the same thing, oh my God, I can't even, you hear the noise, you hear the garbage truck, but 5 minutes that goes by while they pick up the garbage, we're gonna have to hear that all day long.
The
Why?
elevator.
Yes, because you've gotta put an elevator in. And where's all your trash gonna go? We're having so many problems with the trash now.
Not in front of Butler Place.
Yes. I mean, it's just, they just didn't take into any consideration the people that live around there. They really didn't. Honestly, they're making it like they're doing us a favor by going from 9 units to 5 units. You're not doing no one a favor. That was just a fluff thing to make it, oh, guess what? We're gonna help you out now. Instead of doing 9 units, we're gonna do 5. And we're gonna move the building like a few inches over. So you'll get some sunlight, but maybe, you know, if you're lucky. We're gonna do a study, but we didn't do the study. We're gonna do this, but not yet. Come on. You're a resident, you live in the North End your whole life. Take into consideration people that live there. It's getting so sickening.
If I may. Right down the street from us, somebody developed, it has all of the metal, round metal in the front of the property. It's 126.
We know, we were against.
That's a newer building. It's a newer building. They use the entire FAI from us.
Guys, if we can have one person speaking at a time, please.
Sorry?
Guys, if we could just cut out the side conversation, just so we can hear everyone speak.
But they use the entire FAI, if I'm not mistaken. They don't have no rear yard, they have the same violations. Right around the corner on Cooper Street, the old Cincotti building, they use the entire FAR, all of the violations. We're making tremendous turn to cut this building from 9 units to 4 units. The concerns I understand from the abutters, I understand that. We've done everything we can do. We've had 3 businesses on the street. We have a restaurant that's been there for 24 years. I've supported the Genesis Fund. We've done fundraising for them. We do the North End elderly community Christmas parties every year. And anybody that comes forward with anything that they need in the community that asks us, within reason, we're there for it. So I don't understand this major outcry that there's going to be noise. We're looking at possibly putting the building up in 9 months. I think we can do it in 9 months because of the size, like my partner said. There's no windows. It'll be straight block going up. It'll be a rather quick building. We've made as many concessions as we can make within reason. We're here to tell you that this is what we're trying to do. Right behind me, touching my building, is a building that's gone up. That's the entire building, the entire footprint. It's touching my property. So I don't quite understand And they have a roof deck, and so doesn't the other building on the 126 Salem Street have a roof deck. Our roof deck is like 300 feet, 300 square feet. It's for the
On
floor.
almost 1,800 square foot footprint. Not only that, the geopiles, there's 10 piles. You only need 20-foot distances with the steel beam and the rafters. The building's only 76 feet long. You're digging 10 piles, 10 round piles. I mean, anybody can challenge anything in the city. We go right out our door and there's 15 towers that you can see. You know, we're neighborhood people. You have people coming from all over the world, building in Boston. The reason why the real estate is worth so much, we're the center of biotech in the world. We're the center, we are the #1 city in the world for artificial intelligence. Amazon is now taking Lucent Technologies building and building in the seaport. You can't stop it.
Peter has
Bringing on-
one of the most successful design centers on Harrison Avenue in the South End. He also has a fantastic state-of-the-art design center on Route 1 in Peabody. And he's in the flooring cabinet business.
So the first
We're
building
not
I
Johnny Come
designed, but because of the FAR was to put a building in the back and the front, and between the two buildings, all glass. You know, the first thing I heard is, how do you know we're not gonna put up, you know, shades in it? So no matter what we say, it doesn't really matter, because people have another agenda of blocking. So we brought down the FAR to where it's almost a break even at construction. But this is somewhere where him and I want to live in 4 or 5 years, whenever the business will slow down. You know, we're going to be 60 by then. We've had this, I've had the building and the businesses here before I was 30. You know, time flies. So, you know, he was born here. I was born in Italy. To go against a guy that was born here, you have people coming that not even U.S. nationals, building buildings that they use the whole FAR with designs that don't even perform. This is a sideshow. If you look at the building, and when we show it 3D, we are conscious about the light in the back. The light in the back, in the city, where most alleys are what they are. So, I mean, the building is a nice design. We're left with design in a building that has to include light. If you look at the building to the right, it's 7 stories, and it has a white stucco wall.
And you say that you lived in the North End? You ever lived in the North End?
No, but I've had a business here since 1993.
3 of them.
These families have lived here for 70, 75.
I object to that. I
Okay.
object to that. Some of them, I know they've lived there for one time, I know the families, but some of them live outside of the North End as well, as you know.
Well, it doesn't
You
matter.
don't know that?
It doesn't matter. This is America.
I
Most
know
of these
it's
people are
America,
from
but have some compassion
This is
for
a
the
more
people that
point.
lived here all their lives.
My wife's family lived here their whole life.
Put a
The
roof
Morris.
deck, the convenience of a renter, for a renter, not even a unit owner, a renter. That design is the worst. If I don't walk that street, I wouldn't know what the hell you were talking about.
That's one of the
You're not
leading
gonna see that
designers in
design.
Spain, the Vinci of Spain that designed that.
You're not gonna see
He's
that
one of the
design.
leading European designers.
Can you guys talk about how much you're gonna potentially rent these units for? Maybe there's like are you trying to rent to a higher caliber of people? 'Cause I think the people that cause these parties and problems
Yeah.
are not people like me that are trying to, you know, have a family here for the most part. It's, you know, college kids but if your
Yeah.
rent is high enough, you're gonna, you know, get rid of those people.
Well,
So is that your plan?
Yeah, our plan is we're sensitive to whatever we need to do in that space. We've had 3 businesses there. We've helped out the community whenever they've asked. We've done everything we can do. We've employed people from all different races. My wife is Colombian, from Colombia. He's from Italy. We have different diversity everywhere. And we're sensitive to all of the issues. So I don't understand other than the fact that nobody wants this space being built.
But to answer your question,
We're doing
yes,
it.
I am. So if anybody knows anything I do. And you know what? I try to design a building that can look nice from the inside, that have plenty of light on both sides, because we're limited to not having light on the sides. The step back and pulling it off the back created an atmosphere where we can have light in the back. Right?
What are you looking to charge? What's the actual amount that you're looking at?
Whatever the rate is.
Well, we want to go
in 2
higher.
years,
You
so a
know,
year
the
and a
problem
half.
with the North End is us having a restaurant. It's really disgusting that I have a line out the door and all these college kids are just throwing trash on the sidewalk. And here you are in the North End, you're on the Freedom Trail, right? And for years, there's all trash everywhere. So, you know, everybody rents out their older buildings that aren't remodeled, whatever they can get. They throw 9 college kids in a 3-bedroom apartment, and it's fun for the college kids. Who wouldn't it be fun if I was going to college in Boston? Right?
All the buildings are realtors now, they're not no more,
That's
not no more
right.
people that live here.
Exactly.
I got a building next to me, the Manja, there's I think 12 units, there's always trash in front of my building, I get tickets in front of it, and it's the realty company that rents them out. They're not people, you know what I'm saying, that live there.
Are you guys managing?
No, no,
We're
no.
looking to attract,
So you're not hiring, I mean,
No,
you're
we have our own
managing.
building. We have the
we're looking to attract the right professional for the space. We're not looking to rent this to people that are gonna cause, that's gonna cause a problem for us. Why would we want that problem? It's a, you know, it's a self-serving answer. We don't want the problem. We don't want to have to deal with city violations. We want the people that are, you know, that understand the neighborhood and that they live in the neighborhood peacefully. And right down the street is the, you know, the Green Park, and there's public transportation right down the street.
All right, so I'm gonna have to, I don't know if the question real quick.
Just, I'd like to.
Last question.
It's not even, it doesn't matter how much they pay, it's not just the students. I had people in my own building, they were paying $3,000, they were in their 30s partying, and we had a fight with the realtor to get them out. It doesn't matter whether they're students, and it doesn't matter if they charge $5,000. People that, no matter what age you are, we have more problems with between 20s and 40-year-olds than we do with teenagers from the colleges.
I think we've forgotten at our age what we may have been at 20 or 30 years old.
I just want to show
this
respect. I just want to say real quick, I just want to say that I've known Robert all my life. I've known Peter for 24 years, because they've been in the restaurant business on Salem Street with me. From my family, from our perspective, this is nothing against them at all. This is just an opposition. Because of my business, I do business, I have a business next door, and because of my aunts, the Berthel family on Clementa Street. And the roof deck, I don't know if that's really is called for, because I mean, I can tell you walking down Salem Street, there's people on roof decks all night long. And it's, I mean, I was a former resident of the North End, I don't live here anymore, as Robert had, you know, made clear, but I have a business here, and I have a 1 o'clock license on Salem Street. I'm the only one with a 1 o'clock license. And since I've owned Antico Forno 24 years ago, I have shut my business down at 10 o'clock in respect for the people across the street from me. Because I grew up here as a resident, I understand the resident perspective. I have nothing against Robert and Peter, neither does anyone in my family. This is just about business and in the noise and respecting for the people behind that are opposed to it, my aunt and Saraceno's building, my mother, and the other residents that are there. And I just want to make that clear to everybody.
That's what I was just about to say. There's 3 buildings that are opposing it, so there's nothing else. We've been arguing this since 2002. And the papers in there and everything, I want to see it. So that's 17 years.
Okay, with that.
Can I ask one more question? Why is the roof deck necessary? It seems like if you got rid of the roof deck,
Yeah, fine, get rid of it, I don't care.
you might have a little bit less
If that's the
pushback.
issue,
The reason why there's a roof deck is to meet the code for the city, they need 50 square feet of space. That's it.
Isn't that with the little patio in the back?
4th and 5th floor don't really have one, they do, but it's.
Okay.
But if the council finds the roof deck to be the biggest issue, we will certainly look to address that. That's from that perspective.
Do the residents think that's the big issue, the roof deck? Is it everything?
No, it's not just the roof deck.
I mean, I will say, I'm sorry, I feel like I've heard it enough, but I mean, I don't mind the design per se. I just think that it's a little aggressive for that particular spot, up to 5 stories, and I find that, I'm just, you know, you mentioned the chrysanthemum building, and they came before us and we said those railings aren't gonna match the character, and they did it anyway. So I think it's just the perspective that I get from feedback and voices, it's just a little tough there, so.
We don't have any railings in the front, they're in the back.
Excuse me?
We only, that's the back of the building you're looking at, step down, that you will not see from the street.
No, I know, I was
You
a
know,
carpenter.
So, you know, for us to make up a little bit of square footage, we had to go up the extra story.
I completely understand, I'm just giving you a.
And that's well within, that's actually scaled back if you look at it. I mean, you could address this, Matt. where the footage is on the 4th and 5th floor.
And
It's scaled back.
I mean, the height and the rear yard are compliant.
Completely understand. Yes.
Well, let me just say something, I'm not trying to be arrogant, but I live at 61 Prince Street, across the street at 56 or 58. You could talk to Peter Bob Ding Ding in the back over here, the contractor. They put all little balconies. You could put a little table, 2 chairs. Do you know what time they were out there last night? Till 12 o'clock. We didn't have balconies.
I grew up in East Boston, we used to be on the sidewalk.
12 o'clock at night.
All the neighbors.
You can hear a pencil drop, and we have to listen to people talk at 12 o'clock, and we have to get up in the morning and go to work. So I'm just trying to bring out a point. That roof deck is totally unnecessary.
Well, we'll have to look at
You're
that.
just aggravating the neighborhood. I need you to take a vote, table it, I got to go.
Gotcha.
Thank you very much.
So I'm gonna now move it to the council to place their votes and cast them into Tina.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you very much.